Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Hope everybody is having a fantastic week, having a great day. I am super excited to be sharing and introducing you guys to today's happy hour guest, Miss Olivia Cook, and I see that she just joined. Wow, I love it. Olivia's like one of the prompt guests we've had in a while. I love it. Waiting for Olivia to join us, waiting on that connection. We'll give technology a few moments to catch up. Yay! How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
I know, it's been a while.
It's been a while, probably since what, SEMA?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I guess so. That's crazy. Is that right?
No, I don't know.
That feels way longer than it's actually been.
We've seen each other since then, but I really can't remember.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
And has made it crazy.
Yeah. The backstory for those of you out there watching who don't know, Olivia and I met at SEMA back in 2015. I found pictures of that the other day. You were such a baby. We were both babies.
That was my first year at SEMA.
Was it?
Yeah.
That was so crazy. It was like kind of like a by chance meeting through Kristen Felder. Yeah. Through Collision Hub, which was awesome.
Soda booth.
But, what's that?
Said eating a bunch of gummy bears at the soda booth.
Yes. Because why not? And then, so Olivia was involved in the Chevy Montage project. She did a ton of the body work on the Montage. You came out, I think, 2, maybe 3 times during the Montage.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Lovely.
what's that?
Said all during the summer too, so it was lovely.
I know. We have air conditioning now. We didn't at the time.
So hot. It's okay.
It's brutal. And then she agreed to paint High Yellow. So High Yellow 56 was the truck build that went to SEMA this past year, and Olivia is the one who painted that phenomenally. But since in between the Chevy Montage and High Yellow, Olivia kind of transitioned from doing automotive stuff to doing boats. So tell everybody who's listening and watching a little bit about kind of how you got your start and how you got into doing paint and body.
It's kind of by accident. I went to tech school with a guy in 2003. That makes me sound really old, but
not please.
I went to Biotech in 2003, and one of the guys I did trim and upholstery with, because originally I wanted to do trim and upholstery.
Oh.
And yeah. So I went to Pennsylvania, and I went to tech school. I went to Biotech, and then we kind of talked to each other throughout the years a little bit, and then he kind of got a hold of me over social media maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and asked me if I would come out and I'd be interested in painting boats. And I said no. I really had no interest in it. And then one of the designers called me and asked me to come out and if I would take a look at it. And I did. And then I said no. And then I ended up doing it, and I've been there ever since. So
why, I'm curious, why were you not interested, and what eventually convinced you to give in?
I wanted to go into custom paint full time. So that's why I wanted to do it. But then I didn't want to do it just because I knew nothing about boats, and I don't know, it just seemed pretty overwhelming. I would go into the booth and then see this big, huge boat, and I was like, I don't know if I could do it, you know. I've never painted a boat before, but I did it, and I love it.
So how long, you were doing automotive for a while though, right?
Yeah, I was doing automotive ever since I went to tech school. So right after tech school, I started in a shop and always been on automotive.
Okay. So I want to like rewind a little bit. So you went to tech school originally thinking you were going to do trim and upholstery and that kind of stuff. How did
Yeah.
you wind up in paint and body from that?
Upholstery, I didn't like it at all. You think me
Right.
and I should be really good at math, but I suck at it, and there's a lot of math, and I don't know. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. It's just really structured, and I don't know. And then I took the auto body class because that was the main course of it, and then I took street rod, and part of the street rod course was like metal fab, and then the last bit of it after you were done with all your comps, you could go play in the paint shop. So then I would just sit there and I would do like flame jobs and airbrush and stuff, and then at that point I was like, this is what I want to do.
Were you artistic before? Like, were you creative?
Before, so that's why it's like the artsy side of automotive.
Yeah. I'm so jealous because the tech school I went to didn't have auto body or upholstery or any of that. And I feel like I might have gone a different path if I'd been exposed to some of that earlier. Like we didn't have auto body, we didn't have welding. It was like just mechanical and like that was it. But
Yeah, I started off with mechanical in high school, and then I went to we had auto body too. So I took mechanics, and then I took auto body, and I found more of a passion in the auto body side, and then I went and did that in tech school, and
nice.
then been doing it since.
How were people in your life when you like first went down that path of going into automotive?
Uh, it's always been the same. There's people that are either really supportive or not supportive at all. So, I mean, throughout my whole career, it's been one side of the spectrum to the other. And there still is people that don't support me or want to see me fail. But I mean, that's the nature of the beast.
How
You
because
know that as
oh, totally. I 100%. And
yeah.
I feel like it's the most common question that I get asked by other women coming into the industry is like, how do you deal with it and how do you handle it? So you're an example, I feel like, of, you know, a name that people don't necessarily know about. Like you're not like Eugen in lights and on TV, although I think you should be. But you're a role model and you're an inspiration and you've really like made it in a lot of ways. And you're incredibly talented and you've been had a very successful career. Like how have you managed to do that? New's here. Hi, New.
That's
Speaking
my
of talented amazing women.
I told her she needs to come out for the next build.
Yes, totally. Totally. um how have you like what have been your secret weapons for dealing with it or how have you handled it?
Just having thick skin at the end of the day. I think no matter what field you're in, if you're male or female, there's always going to be people out there. There's always negative people. There's always people that want to see you fail. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, some people just suck. So you just gotta,
Amen. No matter where you go, some people just suck.
yeah. So, I mean, but it counts for everything and everybody.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's easy to forget sometimes, right? Like we see our world in our little bubble and we deal with the stuff that we're dealing with in our industry and we forget that like no matter what industry you're in, no matter what job you're in, there's going to be BS that you're going to put up with. And it kind of becomes a question of like which BS are you okay with putting up with? Right?
We had a girl come into the shop yesterday, and she works for Boeing now. I'm not really
Oh,
sure what it is, but she wants to be a buffer. So she asked if there were any other girls in the shop, and then my shop manager brought her by, and he said he was hesitant to hire her, but I said that at the end of the day, anybody is capable of doing anything. It just as long as they have the will and the want.
yeah.
And if you don't have the will and the want, you're not going to last very long.
Amen. Amen to that. I cannot wait until the day when it's not about whether you're male or female and it's about whether you have the attitude and the desire and the willingness to learn and grow and work hard. And I think that's so important, right? And I don't know, we have a long way to go, I feel like, but
Yeah,
hopefully we're getting there.
I
Um,
think so. I think so. I think times have changed so much, and it is a lot more supported, I think, for women to be in the industry. I think because of social media, you see so much more of it. And through like the montage and everything else, seeing other girls out there where you never known,
yeah,
because before the montage, I never knew any other girls besides, random ones that I've talked to on social media. But
yeah, agreed. It's kind of crazy. I think a lot of women have that experience, and social media 100, because you came up around the same time I did, right? I was in tech school in 2000. You were
Mhm.
in 2003, you said, right? So the difference between then and now, like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
started,
huge.
it was kind of taboo. So I've
Yeah,
had plenty of people hand me back my resume and tell me good luck with that, or, you know, just laugh at me, or tell me that they would just hire me to wash cars. And, but then you find the people that are really supportive and the people that do want to help you throughout your career. And I tell
yeah,
girls that all the time. There's either people that don't want to help you at all, and there's some people that will. Don't get discouraged, because the good people are out there to support you. You just have to find them. But I think
yeah,
that's male or female too. I've heard plenty of guys go through shops and, had bad
totally.
experiences.
Totally. Yeah, I think there's stuff that easily gets confused as being like that young women that I know in the industry are like, oh, that might be because I'm a girl, and sometimes it's not. It's just because you're new, and then
Yeah.
sometimes there is stuff that is just because you're a girl, right? Like I like
Yeah.
being told, yeah, I'm not going to ever hire a girl to do this job. Good luck with that, right? That's pretty obvious. But I almost like in retrospect, in hindsight, I kind of almost want to thank those people because, like, thanks for being that forward about how you feel. Because I wouldn't have wanted to work at your shop anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like, if that's your attitude, then I don't want to work there anyway.
Thank you for doing me that favor.
Totally. Thanks for not beating around the bush. Thanks for being like really straightforward about it, and we can just move on.
Then it's all about the mindset too.
Yeah.
People just want somebody that will come in, work hard, and be punctual, and
Yeah.
not take 2 hour lunches, and just the common sense things. But you'd be surprised,
Totally.
a lot of people don't have those common sense things. And just because you did go to a tech school, you're still going to have to work your way up as well as
Amen.
everybody else. I know.
Amen to that.
Yeah, I know that's been a fight with some, I think, newer hires that we've had that have been strictly like straight out of school. They have that I can do everything mindset, where
Right.
you need to learn like every little aspect to it, and it's not,
Yeah.
you're not just going to go in there and
Yeah, totally. You're not going to be suddenly like handed a really expensive boat and be like, here, paint this. Go
yeah,
ahead, right? Like you work your way up. Or say on the mechanical side, it's the same thing. Like they're not just going to hand you the keys to do an engine rebuild job. Like you're going to start
right,
sweeping floors and doing oil changes. Like that's what you're going to start doing, male or female, regardless, right? I,
yeah.
I saw somebody commented that they would put you up against anybody that like,
Oh,
and you have earned your respect in the industry, and I think that's like a really you're such a great role model in that sense. Like you've just been head down, like getting it done and making strides and moving forward in your career and doing big stuff. And you ask just about anybody in the industry who knows their stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that Olivia's awesome. Like she's the bomb," and I
yeah.
appreciate
I
that.
started, especially on the social media. Like I was working in a shitty shop, you know what I mean? Doing the regular everyday grind, and then slowly going into, you know, more corporate-y, and then, being a head painter at a shop, and then going out to like MTI, and slowly picking away and just growing. But I think that's important.
Yeah. So how are you liking boats now, and how is
Uh,
it different?
I think it's honestly, at the end of the day, I don't think I would do anything else. I don't think I'd ever go back to collision anyways.
What about restoration?
Uh, I do like restoration though. That is on my, that's why I'm trying to read.
Yeah, what is this question?
I do. Kids, if that's about, you see yourself carving out time for having kids. I have 2 kids.
Yeah. So yeah, talk about that. I can't speak to that. So definitely like how do you carve that out and how do you achieve that life balance that we're all trying to achieve?
Possible. It's possible. It's definitely hard, especially for a long time. I lived in Illinois and MTI is in Wentzville, Missouri. So I was making an hour plus commute every day. And I'm lucky I have my parents that lived on the Illinois side. So they definitely helped out a lot. But just recently bought a house out in Wentzville. So my commute now is like 10 minutes and I'm so happy. And
I'm so proud of you and
yeah,
so happy for you.
so excited about it. And that, and I have property so I can build a shop here and be close to home and do the whole deal, and it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a mom, right? But similarly balancing like a ton of things,
Oh,
right? And I think,
it does. To the
I
extreme.
think, right? I mean, we all have our craziness in our own ways, but I think the big thing for me, at least, is remembering that work-life balance isn't like a thing that you achieve and then you're done. Like
Yeah,
it's this constant ebb and flow, and the pendulum's constantly swinging, and you're like, "Ooh, I found balance. No, I'm missing more of that. No, I'm missing more of that. No, I right."
right. Yeah, I know. I sign myself up for everything I can possibly do. And then when I do, I'm like, stretched to the max. And I'm like, why did I do this to myself?
Why?
Yeah, I like it though, I'd like to stay busy and I want to keep growing, um, in my work life and personal life. So,
Yeah,
um, I think that's important to be able to grow and keep growing. Some people, make their peak and then they're just,
and they're done. Yeah. I feel like I never want to stop growing and learning. I always want to look back and be like, oh, I was such an idiot back then, right? Like I want to like be getting to that next level and always.
I think so.
It's so cool to watch. It really is awesome. So you've got some plans. Are you able to talk about your little like side?
Yeah.
What's that? Did we just
Um,
freeze? Oh,
I side work, but it's kind of hard right now because I'm just bought a house, so every bit of money is going into getting the house up to speed. And
yeah.
then I just got a really bad rainstorm the other day, so it turns out that the backyard turns into a swamp whenever it rains really hard. So
Oh, fun.
the plot property that shop was potentially going to go on is not going to work. So then having somebody come out and excavate and do a bunch
Yeah.
of other stuff. So it's happening, but
Oh,
it's just
all
a
right.
long time.
Yeah.
But that is the long term goal is to paint bikes on the side, and hopefully someday that'll be my main deal.
I love it. I think that's really exciting. Are you last time we like talked like our last time we I guess we were hanging out together, you were talking about like really wanting to get more into like the design and layout piece of thing on the boats because
Mm.
the boats you're doing all of this insane custom work. And side note for everybody watching, like if you haven't seen her stuff, as soon as this is over, don't do it now because you want to stay tuned, but after this is over, go check out her page and check out her work because like holy bejesus, the stuff that she does on these boats is absolutely flippin' phenomenal. And you've been doing all of these amazing designs, but you were looking to get into like the design side of it.
The
How
more
has that been going?
it's been going good. It's just a lot of trial and error and stuff. So I bought a really expensive computer and all the deals. And I hooked up with a girl that I work with right now, and she does the graphics. So I have, the tools and stuff to be able to cut my own graphics and stuff and design them and get that ball rolling in that aspect.
That's cool. Are you enjoying it as much as you thought you would?
Yeah, it's just another thing to juggle. So it's
Yeah. Just add more to the list. Just keep on adding more.
just I have to remember to be patient sometimes that, I can't conquer the world in a day.
Oh God, isn't that like for all of us to remember, right? Like,
Yeah, it takes baby steps sometimes, and I get frustrated with it because I want it now. But
yeah.
yeah,
I so appreciate you saying that. I think we all need to remember that. Like, it's easy in the moment to be like, but I want that now. I want to be there
yeah,
now. I want to get to it. I'm putting in the work. I'm working my butt off. Why do I not have all the things yet, right? And then
right.
I was looking for a good photo of us together, and that's when I stumbled across the picture from SEMA because Google does the crazy thing where it recognizes faces,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it was pulling up every single photo I have that has your face in it, which is just kind of a really cool thing and also a really creepy thing. But it's because it's good at recognizing. But it found your picture from way back in early SEMA, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that felt like forever ago, but it was
Go.
2015. It was 5 years. Like that's not that much, you know?
I roll through stuff like that. I really remember like going to SEMA for the first time, and it was through like a really rough patch, and I was going through a divorce, and and that's where I was all like, you know what, I'm just going to focus on myself for a little while. And then after that, I dived into absolutely everything I could, anything anybody offered me or we talked about, and I was just like, yeah, let's do it. So I didn't say no to one thing, and
I love it.
I rolling through everything. It's just like really seeing the everything expand. So whenever I see that end picture, like I want to have my shop and it's going to be cool and I'm going to do all these bikes and
Yeah.
and I want to eventually just live on that instead of just
Working.
busting for somebody else. Not that
Right.
I, you know what I mean, but
I know. Although sometimes busting your butt for yourself is almost worse than busting your butt for somebody else.
I think you get more gratification for it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Whatever it's strictly yours from the initial thought of it to the process to the end to the delivery, everything is on you and nobody else. It's just that like holy shit,
Yeah.
this is how far I've come, and
Yeah.
it's taken me this long to do it, but you know what I mean, and that nobody can take away from you.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And I always like to balance that out with like I think there's sometimes this myth of what it looks like to work for yourself and that it's going to be full of liberty and freedom and tons of money and you're going to be able to work when you want to and make all the decisions with whatever you want, and the reality is much different than that because you wind up often working harder and longer and
Right. That's why I absolutely loved NTI. At the end of the day, like I do custom paint work every day on, anywhere from little scale because you have to do all the little pieces and parts, and sometimes I do these little plaques, and I do seat backs and dashes and boats and like everything in between. So they scale from this size to like 57 foot. So
yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like, well, I do the custom paint deal and I do it every day and I love it. So this thing on the side is just for I call it my mental, you know what I mean? I just
Yeah.
need it to keep my brain happy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I totally understand that. Yeah. Because it's a
yeah,
little bit more, it's a more creative outlet, I would think, maybe for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I'll always be my bread and butter, but it's doing stuff on the side is definitely fulfilling my mental
Yeah.
side.
So to go on a little bit technical side for those who are watching who might be interested, so I know looking at some of the boats that you've done, like from just looking at them, a novice eye might think that it was a wrap or stickers or, and it's all paint and it's all custom work and you're doing a ton of it by hand in a lot of ways, right? What's
Right. So
um
you wrap some boats. Sometimes they have like fun runs and stuff, and they'll have like a demo boat.
okay.
So take a demo boat and they'll wrap it. Like I painted today, and the second half of my day was sitting out in a shop where it's 97 degrees with a blowtorch between my legs, peeling off a wrap off the whole cat for paint. Um,
That sounds lovely.
because yeah, because they sold it, so now we have to put a paint job on it.
Gotcha.
So we wrap some, but we do paint everything in house.
Okay. And so what does that process look like for people who aren't familiar, and like how long does it take to paint the kind of
Oh,
graphics that you're doing on a boat?
it depends if it's a cat or a center console. We do both, and it depends. Every single one is custom built. So the customer, we manufacture the boat. So there's a facility up north in Green Bay that actually makes the boat,
Okay.
and they ship it down to us. So whenever we get it, it's a raw gel coat. So we have to sand the whole boat, wipe down the whole boat, mask the boat, paint the boat, clear the boat, sand it all back down, do touch-ups, re-clear the boat, and ship it over to buffing, and
And
then
are you
rig.
doing all of this with like the same size tools that we use on cars and motorcycles?
Yes, I use a little DA to sand the whole boat, and yeah, it's very time consuming. Very time.
Wow. Wow. Is that like obviously, you hear body folks talk about getting panels on long cars, getting them straight and getting them perfect. Like, is it
Ours is glass and gel coat, so it's not like a flat panel. At the end of the day,
okay?
it's fiberglass boat, so it's not straight as an arrow. I mean,
Okay.
it's like a core imperfections and whatnot in it. But after we do the graphics, we put anywhere between 5 to 7 coats of clear, and then we'll sand it all flat so you don't have any tape lines,
Hmm.
and then do a few minor touch-ups and then re-clear it so whenever the boat comes out of the booth, it's flat. You can't feel any tape lines or anything. And then they buff the whole boat from end to end.
And that
But
can take. I mean, what's the longest time frame you've ever done?
on a boat,
Yeah, like the most complex paint job. How long would that have taken?
I think 27 days
Wow,
in the paint booth. But
crazy.
then it goes to buffing, and then they have it for however long, and then it goes to rigging. And
It goes to what?
the rigging where they assemble the boat,
Oh, gotcha.
and everything's made to custom order. So they could want something, might be a fishing boat, or it might be a diving boat, or it might be just a party boat where they want, flashy lights and whatever
Disco balls.
whatever you want, they'll put it on there. We have a whole interior team that custom builds interiors, um, but everything's made to order, so it's a long process.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. And how's the team that you work with? Have they been accepting of you? Are you like at the shop? What's the work environment like?
Um, it's good.
Pros and
It's
cons?
good. I mean, yeah, it's just like anywhere else. Sometimes you butt heads, and sometimes you work great.
Okay, fair enough. Very diplomatic answer. I love it. Um,
It, it, but it is. I mean, some people are accepting and some people aren't. So sometimes you have to work extra hard, and you know what I mean?
yeah, I think there's um, the thing that kind of ties the ladies in this industry that I know like together is this thing of when we encounter that any sort of pushback, like any sort of like not so supportive people, that like that just makes us want to work harder and be
Exactly.
better. Yeah.
Exactly. not always easy, but at the end of the day, I want to be there and I'm going to continue being there. So um, I just go in and do my best and forget the rest, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also interesting. Earlier, you said that you went through a period, you went through a rough time with your divorce and kind of all that, and then you dove into just saying yes to everything. And it's interesting how many times that theme has come up in these conversations that I've been having on the happy hours. Is I just said yes. Like I just said yes. I just said yes. I just said yes. And it's such an interesting thing that it keeps coming up organically. That like that's a theme that's tying us all together. Is some crazy opportunity came up and I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
But, you know,
I think that's awesome. Uh,
okay.
I was seeing if we've got any questions. No, those aren't questions. Those are statements. That's awesome. Okay. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to write them in the little question box below. We're happy to answer them. How has COVID been affecting the boat business and your
Um,
job?
kind of hard for a minute because we are in the city. We're not in the city, but we're close enough to it to make it an issue. And I know South County got hit pretty hard. I was out of work for, I think, maybe 2 weeks.
Okay.
I went back, and it was strictly stay in the booth with the mask on and don't go out, except to use the restroom. So,
Yeah.
I mean, kind of hard. And it was hard because my kids weren't in school. So,
Oh,
thankfully,
wow.
parents. And then whenever I was out of work, I stayed home for my kids are artistic. My daughter is, but I stayed home, and actually it was nice. We were cooking and baking, and probably gained like 20 pounds on COVID.
The COVID-15. I think a lot of us have.
Right. But it's nice. Sometimes it's nice to slow down. And I've heard it from so many people. Like, I've never spent so much time with my kids. And,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, there's some good that came out of it, I suppose.
I think totally, right? Like anytime we have major crisis or major transition or whatever you want to
Right.
call this, like it's caused to pause and reflect and look at things differently. And yeah, I was just talking to a buddy the other day and he's like, I never ate dinner with my kids. Now we eat dinner every night together. And I'm like, that's
Right.
awesome. Right?
Yeah. And I think more people were. Everybody's on the fast track. So everything's readily accessible to everybody. Fast food,
Yeah.
and just seeing everybody, grocery stores sell out of everything because everybody's going to stay home and cook now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good to slow down because people kind of take all that craziness, that it's just a normal thing. And I think it's sometimes
Yeah.
a good reminder that, you know, we
Yeah.
are
We are what?
vulnerable,
Yeah.
vulnerable.
Vulnerable. Yeah. And what's important in life too, right? Like just shifting
Right.
the perspective. And I think, yeah, obviously I think this whole thing everybody's experienced differently and there's been different pressures on people differently. Yeah, there's some interesting questions coming in. um but um but yeah, so I think we've all had different experiences of it, but I think no matter how it's been a real like having to question and look at life a little bit differently than maybe
Yeah.
we've been previously.
Yeah, I think it definitely has changed. So now, even though that I do have all these extracurriculars and things that I want to do, it's definitely helped me realize that, this is coming first. Like, I want to put up this shop and everything else, but still home life, and that comes first. So, soon as that part's taken care of, then I can focus on the extra things.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. If
there's,
there's anybody I know who will accomplish whatever they set their mind to, it's you. Like I have watched you over the years be like, I want to do that, and then a year later you're like, boom, here I am. So I know that you will make it happen for sure.
but I think it's very important to always set goals and to, do whatever you can to achieve them.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, it's like setting the goal and then letting go of it and like setting it out in the universe. Cause like sometimes what winds up happening is even better than you could have imagined or set a
Right.
goal for. And like just letting that happen too is important. But
Yeah.
somebody asked if we were going to be at SEMA this year. What are your thoughts on that? Are you going to be at SEMA?
I don't know. I think it's an up and down. I don't think I am this year with everything that's going on. And I don't know. Now they're talking about not even starting school and doing
I've
home
heard that.
school.
Yeah. I
Yes.
think that's going to be so
That happens.
challenging.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. With all that stuff going on, I don't think SEMA's really going to be as big as it usually is this year.
No. I'm kind of playing it by ear right now, but I feel like
So
what's that?
I usually go to Autorama in Detroit. So
Oh,
help at the booth.
yeah.
Uh, I told some of the guys from SADA that I would definitely be up this year. That's just a quick drive and a
Yeah.
weekend. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm not convinced SEMA's going to happen. I'm like I know
yeah,
they say they are, but I'm not convinced.
right.
Like,
You think of how much money gets dumped into SEMA and all the investors and everything else, but you look at every industry, like whether it's like buying a house, trying to order stuff, you know what I mean? And it's just like you can't get anything right now.
no,
Um,
it's hard. It's hard. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And I feel like I'm hearing more and more people say, even if it happens, I'm not going.
yeah,
So
I don't.
it's gonna be really interesting to see how this all plays out. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
So, what? Getting back to more personal stuff and not SEMA COVID stuff, but what? We've talked about it a little bit, but if you had to talk to the younger version of you, what
Mm.
what would you say? What would your advice be?
Um, oh man. I think just keep doing what you're doing at the end of the day. And don't get discouraged because I know there's a lot of people out there that, at the end of the day, there's just people that suck. So, and I do tell that to the younger girls and the younger people that reach out to me is that it's hard. The work is hard. The people that you deal with can be hard, but I tell my daughter that too. Like, no matter what you want to do in life, you just have to have a positive attitude. Go to work, be punctual, work hard, and be passionate about whatever you put your hands on, and it'll be fine.
I love it. Words to live by for all of us, not just younger versions of ourselves. Right?
Do in life, just give a shit about it, and then it'll all work out.
Yeah, I love it.
I think
All
so.
right. What else should we talk about? We've talked about your painting of boats. We've talked about high yellow. We talked about COVID. Um, what
Uh,
else?
oh, I
Buy
don't know.
more. What is it? Somebody said buy more tools. That's what I'll tell anyone.
And I've been
Tools are
ducking.
part of it. I don't know that tools are the whole answer.
Right, right. Well, I buy a lot less tools than you. I could
That is
buy
true.
great guns and be fine. Yeah,
Yeah. I was about to say that your tools are more expensive than ours, but not necessarily, actually.
necessarily. Well, I mean, I guess maybe in one hit, but
Right.
buy a toolbox and completely fill it with tools, you're going to be a lot more in the hole than I am.
Right. Well, okay, so here's an age-old question brought up by that, like the tool question. Some people will say and swear loyalty to specific brands of guns or DAs or whatever. Do you feel like the tool makes a huge difference, or is it more the operator?
No, I think it's just like anything. Everybody has a preference, and some things are going to last longer than others. Obviously, if you buy a Harbor Freight tool and you buy a Snap-on tool, one is going to outlive the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think tools are a very big investment, but if you invest in them, then I've had spray guns that I've had ever since. I still have my first one.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It is a big purchase, but at the end of the day, you're going to use that tool forever. I'm sure you have tools ever since you first started.
Totally.
Yeah.
So for someone starting out early on, like if they're going to invest in like one or two really good quality tools, what tools do you say at the beginning to put the money into? It's worth buying expensive versus what tool can they like skimp on and buy a
Uh,
cheaper version?
that's hard because everything's going to be different. Like your realm's going to be different than my realm, but
No,
I
but for
think
you guys, for paint,
for
for
paint
paint and
world,
body.
a paint gun and a DA, invest in that. I bought an Ingersoll DA ever since I left tech school, and I'm still using the same one.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh,
That's impressive.
yeah, I just replaced the pad on it, and
Wow.
so every couple years,
Is it a
I,
pneumatic one? It's an air tool?
yeah, it's an air tool.
Wow.
And
Do you oil it all the time? Is that how it's lasted so long?
honestly, I don't.
I'm like, because I have not ever had a pneumatic tool last that long. That's impressive.
I do every now and then, you know, when everybody's all like, "Hey, do you ever oil that?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." You know?
I'm so bad about that. I'm so bad about it.
But I've had the same one ever since. What did I go to tech school? Whenever I bought it, whenever I was 17, and I still have the same one. My spray gun, I have bought a new one. Obviously, spray guns actually have come a long way.
Yeah.
So the gun I bought, you could not use today without it doing weird things because it just let so much out.
How many
Yeah,
spray guns do you have?
uh, I don't know. I haven't counted in a while, but I have a bunch here and I have a bunch at work. Um, but out of all the ones I bought a phaser, and that one's probably the most expensive one. But honestly, I love it, and I can see the difference.
Really?
Um, and I use it every day. I used to be really picky about guns, and in the collision world, I had one for solids, I had one for clear, I had one for sealer, I had one for base, you know, high metallics, low metallics, and
Right. Oh my
uh,
gosh.
yeah, I bought my phaser strictly for clear, but now I put everything through it. I put
Interesting.
primer, I put primer through it, I put sealer through it, I
Wow.
put through it, I put clear through it. Man, I use and abuse that thing. Uh,
Interesting.
runs like a champ.
That's awesome. And can you change the nozzle size?
Yeah, I could, but I don't. I keep
So
the
you're
same
just
size.
using the same size for everything and it's just that solid. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, I
Because
love
I
it.
see people who have like a gazillion different.
Yeah. Um, but I think it does. The gun really does depend what line of paint you spray, and like if you spray single stage or you spray like clears, and some clears are set up different. Water based and solvents are different, so water base is thinner, so they want you to use a different size tip, and
Right.
you know it really does whenever you're on collision, but um, with Spies. We spray Spies Hecker, and it's really
Okay.
thick. Uh, and
Okay.
I could just use one. I just use one paint line,
Okay.
so I could spray everything out of it.
Are you doing solvent or
If
whatever?
that
I'm
makes.
assuming solvent. You do
Oh,
solvent there? Yeah.
yeah, I spray.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and everything we use is all automotive. We don't use any. Well, we use gel coat on some of the interior pieces, but everything else is all automotive. And it's a 1-3. Somebody.
Nice. Good. I
Yeah.
was going to ask that and then I forgot. So thank you for asking that.
Uh,
Awesome.
3 RP.
Very cool. So, what else? What does the world need to know about Miss Olivia
Uh,
Cook?
oh, I don't know. Nothing exciting, I guess. Just working, trying to do the whole deal like everybody else is at the end of the day.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I will let everybody, a little teaser is that there is a very good potential that there is going to be a fun little project coming that is going to involve both Olivia and myself. So you'll have to stay tuned to both of our social media feeds to see what's going on with that. Ooh, that's a great question. Who do you look up to in the custom paint world?
Uh, I really looked up to Michael Valley, who passed. And ever since I saw him on, I think the first show I saw him was on Overhauling, but it was whenever I was in high school. And yeah, once I saw him, I was like, that's it for me. That's what I want to do. And that's why I ended up going to tech school. And we actually met a couple years ago, and we met at SEMA. We became friends, and yeah, he was a big supporter, and he always believed in me. So,
What
uh,
did he ever give you any like amazing like words of advice or wisdom? Like what would you say if you had to, like, was the biggest lesson you learned from him?
um, Mike told me a story how he first started, and he painted a lot whenever he was young, and he was, I forget if I think he broke one of his limbs and he was stuck in a bed. And he started painting animals, and then he went into pinstriping. And then he moved out to Washington, and he told me about the first time he met Chip and went on the show. And he said he met Chip at a show, and he had a roadster there that had a nick in the pinstripe that he told the guy about, and he came by and fixed it. And Chip came by his booth and saw a painting that he did with a lion, and his mane was on fire. So Chip asked him to come out to California, and he had no idea who Chip was. And he had his business card, and he went out there to California, and he did the show. And then after that, he said he really took off. So he painted a pinstriping brush box for me, and it said, I hope you find the one brush stroke that'll change your life forever.
Oh, wow.
That it's just, sometimes it's by chance, and it's like one instant that changes your life forever. So that's one thing he told me, to never say no and just keep on pushing on to whatever I want to do.
I love that. I think that's beautiful. And yeah, it's interesting. We talk about opportunities, and we talk about it's. I think a lot of times I hear people talk about seeing, oh, opportunities happen for everybody else, but never for me. Or, right, like, when is my opportunity or my brush stroke going to happen? And sometimes you don't notice it if you're not looking for it, right? Like, or you don't say yes to it. Like, it shows up and you don't say yes. Like, Mike had to say yes to this random guy he didn't know who turned out to be Chip Foose. He had to say yes, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's, you got to be willing to say yes to
It was
something
like
crazy.
the booth next to me, and he was all like, getting all excited because it was Chip, and he was like, who is that guy? And he's all like, that's Chip Foose. And he's like, who is that guy? And he had no idea who it was, or,
I love
what he
that.
was about to get into. But yeah, that was one thing he always told me, was just never say no. Everything's an opportunity, and you never know where it can take you.
Amen to that. I love that. That's a beautiful note, I think, to kind of leave this on. And we're running short on time because Instagram only gives us a small window. So um I want to thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with me for happy hour. I miss you so much, and I can't wait for us to hang out together again soon.
Just come by and hang out and visit,
Yes.
but then your state is the last state I want to be in
Yeah,
right
no, you
now.
don't want to come to Arizona right now. Oh Lord, you do not want to come to Arizona right now. We're horrible.
Oh, and now you're in Florida, and that's not any better.
No,
Aren't you in Florida right
the four worst states. So right now, Texas, Florida, California, and Arizona are the worst states. I film in Florida. I live in Arizona. My co-host lives in Texas, and my boyfriend lives in California.
now? You're so
I'm
doomed.
totally doomed. So we won't get to hang out for a while in person, but
Right.
soon,
And
hopefully.
SEMA, but soon.
Yeah. So, and we've pushed back the Volvo to 2021. So we've got lots of time, which means when this all settles down, we can hang out and maybe not have pressure and not have stress.
That's not going to happen.
A girl can hope, Olivia. A girl can hope.
Okay. It'll be fun.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm proud of you with your new house. I'm so excited for everything you've got going on, and excited to see what is coming next for you. And everybody who's listening and who listens to this in the future, because it'll be on my IG TV. If you've missed it, you can catch it there. But make sure you check out Olivia's page and check out all of her stuff. Give her a follow. Support this amazing woman. And tune in next week to meet somebody else new and wonderful and exciting. But thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you all for hanging out with us for a little bit. And Olivia, I love you.
I love you.
We'll see you soon. Bye, guys.